giving. I'm not playing a mess. You're not scared around here. You can't keep stepping on me. Happy and free. Radical positivity. Say what you believe in. Try fighting uphill with me. Avoid the dangers of conformity. Alighted with no action. Destroy this corporate thing.
How's it going? Good evening, everyone. As you can see, I'm very highly on top of things tonight. I actually do have some stuff that I want to show you, so we'll get started with that. I'm reading the chat right now. Somebody mentioned that Madonna is in a coma, and I did see that, and I feel bad for her because nobody should be in a coma. It looks like she had some kind of bacterial infection, which I wouldn't wish on anyone, but I said in the chat, probably from too much Botox. She has gone way overboard with the Botox, and there was a comparison between her and some other lady who was of her similar age. She looks great, this other lady, and Madonna just looks like weird twisted plastic cardboard. It's so sad. So thoughts for her for sure, but holy cow, you can only do so much to yourself before it starts to show. Poor lady. I want to show you guys this video. We're not going to play the audio. We're going to read the subtitles because there are certainly some. What's your name, Isaac? Isaac, what do you rate me out of 10? And he says, I'm happily married, and shows his wedding ring. This lady is very flirtatious, she's attired in gym wear, which people have insisted to me is not flirtatious. It is flirtatious. I'm sorry, you don't dress that way for yourself. You dress that way because you're proud of how you look and you want other people to pay attention. And I completely understand if you work hard on your physical attributes. I totally get it. You want people to appreciate that. But if you're going to the gym and then people are appreciating it in ways you don't like, you don't get to then act like a victim. Seriously, you don't. But I digress. This is just how she's dressed for those who aren't watching. She's wearing a sports bra and tight shorts. I love his body language. He is facing away from her. He's looking over to his right. She's on his left. He shows his ring. I'm happily married. And then he says, so I would not rate you. Okay, so if you had to rate me, if you didn't have a wife, come on. Goodness gracious. That'd be a 1. Oh, let's see why he says that. Goodness gracious. She looks nonplussed. Look at that face. Oh my gosh, she did not expect that. It's a little desperate. That's why. So the most important person in my life is my wife. So she's my number 1. Good for him. I was expecting the first comment on this to be like, he knows he's being recorded. So of course he's going to say this because his wife is going to see one way or the other, whatever he does say. I just thought it was super interesting. And this is actually one of the top comments on here. This person says, fatherless behavior. As for the man, sir, you win. I hear this comment a lot. The comment is fatherless behavior, and it's typically used to denigrate women who are acting like, yes, indeed, they have very little paternal influence on their lives. So it's just the end of the video. It's just Jason Bateman or whatever. Looking very based. And I said, yes, we should hold fathers more accountable. Good observation. Because this is so frustrating to me because they're denigrating women for acting like they don't have male role models instead of pointing a finger at, in some degree, at the men who chose to abdicate the responsibility to be fathers. So, who is actually to blame here? Yes, women are adults. Yes, they have their own autonomy. Yes, they can make their own decisions. But at the end of the day, if you are hearing the same message constantly, and if you're seeing the same role models doing the same things, it's going to be very hard to fight the messages that you see around you coming from, yes, fatherless influencers who are pushing this whole physical appearance is everything, the male gaze is everything, attraction from the opposite sex is everything, that kind of messaging. Pushing back against that is very hard. It requires a very conscious person and a very secure person. If you don't have the positive influence of a father, you are going to have a really hard time with that. So I would suggest, instead of just yelling fatherless behavior at these women, we should actually hold the dads accountable. And that gets right back to cultural accountability, which is something that I would really like to see more of. Andy says, please retweet me. So let's do that now. Let's see what wonderful things he has to say. Tonight, Bud Light CEO triples down defending his new girlfriend's honor. Oh my goodness. Yes, indeed. That's exactly what's happening. That's the first story we're going to be talking about today, and it is a doozy. Yes, Dirk says gym wear equals spray paint for clothing. That's exactly what it is. It's not great. They know exactly what they're doing because these women aren't stupid. They know what to do to get seen and paid attention to. I have that Florida shine going. My goodness, I need a little powder here. The move has just disrupted everything. Everything I used to have at my fingertips on my desk at IRL and then on my own desk in Massachusetts. It's in a box somewhere. I have no idea where it is. I will find it soon and not be quite so shiny. But until then, sorry, just going to be shiny lids. All right, let's read about Bud Light. Dun, dun, dun. He still doesn't get it. Tone-deaf Anheuser-Busch CEO won't rule out Bud Light working with Dylan Mulvaney again, and then says the firm needs to appreciate what the consumer wants, despite debacle costing the firm $20 billion and counting. Holy cow, that's a lot of money. U.S. CEO Brendan Whitworth refused to say if the company would work with this trans influencer again after the backlash. He admitted the company was pouring 3 times more investment into Bud Light this year. It comes after claims that the company had fired their top marketing VPs, something which they deny. So they don't call it firing because apparently that's something that can be legally used against them in a court of law or something. Initially, they just said put on a leave of absence, which we now know is not the case at all. But in any case, those people are gone, not coming back anytime soon, thankfully. But this is not going to fix all their problems unless Bud Light starts to realize that they probably shouldn't be marketing with this influencer. It's going to get worse, I think. But I personally am very entertained by the idea that they might try to bring this person back around, right? I'm really curious what the response is going to be if they do another ad with this person. Anheuser-Busch CEO has refused to rule out partnering with transgender influencer again, as he avoided answering how much the marketing blunder has cost Bud Light. Brendan Whitworth, a U.S. CEO, insisted that his priority was employees and added that they had poured 3 times the amount of investment into Bud Light this year, as the company has lost a staggering $20 billion in market cap. Speaking to CBS Mornings, Whitworth was asked if he would send Mulvaney another can knowing the backlash. Instead of giving a definitive answer, the CEO instead launched into a pre-rehearsed speech about the social conversation that the disaster campaign caused. Whitworth added that they, quote, need to deeply understand the consumer and appreciate what they want from the brand, as he was blasted on social media for doing a dismal job. He was then challenged over his refusal to answer, with Tony Doukapil, I have no idea how to pronounce that last name, the interviewer, asking if the decision was a mistake, as sales for the beer dropped to staggering 28.5%. Woo! I hadn't seen that latest number. That's insane. Brendan Whitworth, U.S. CEO, insisted that his priority was the employees and added that they had poured 3 times the amount of investment into Bud Light this year. I wonder why that was. But see, he's unwilling to say that he's not going to work with this influencer again because he knows he's got ESG writing on this, right? There's no way that he can full on dismiss it because he views this as something positive for his company in the long run as far as like wokeness and getting those sweet ESG points. Crazy. Whitworth again avoided the question, saying, as we move forward, we want to focus on what we do best, which is brewing great beer for everyone. I'm going to stop you right there. There's only so much I can suspend my disbelief when you tell me that Bud Light or pretty much anything made by Anheuser-Busch is great beer. I'm going to have to say you're lying or you've never tried your own product. Holy cow. Listening to our consumers, being humble and listening to them. Give me a break. Making sure we do right by our employees, take care and support our partners, and ultimately make the impact in the community that we serve. So, guys, how excited are you that Bud Light might actually try to do this again? How low do you think it can go? What percentage do you think we can knock off the market cap for Bud Light? I'm really curious. I'm really excited. I know that people really aren't interested in this anymore. I do know that Larry Fink came out and was talking about how he doesn't like the term ESG and he's trying to change it. I wish him the best with that because we see it now and we're fully aware of what it looks like now and we know exactly what it smells like. We can detect it in the air and I don't think it's going to get far. So here are some comments on this. Playing both sides and taking no stance on either side while promoting or donating to anti-gay politician Brendan Whitworth, epitome of politician. CBS Mornings, nice try, nice try trying to get an answer, but he's well rehearsed. So this is somebody who's saying you don't want to say you won't advertise with Dylan Mulvaney in the future. You need to be pro Dylan Mulvaney in order to be on the right side of history. Insanity. I'm watching Brendan Whitworth, CEO Bud Light, on CBS Rehab segment. How are you dealing with those right-wing bigots? Poor Brendan won't answer the questions, just keeps trying to walk off the tightrope and filibustering. I'm afraid it's still falling flat. Bud Light boycott. Interesting. Not sure exactly what stance that person takes. He's accusing right-wingers of being bigots, but who knows if he's being sarcastic. Technology removes the tone altogether. And here we go. Brendan Whitworth clearly wants to be fired because if your answer to the will you do business again with Dylan Mulvaney wasn't a quick no, then we all know you learned nothing. That's probably the best and most concise response we've seen here. Anheuser Busch CEO Brendan Whitworth appeared on CBS Morning seemingly dazed by the Bud Light boycott, unable to articulate what the core values of the company are. Sounds like someone on his way out. Sad he is a former Marine that doesn't deserve this treatment. No, sugar. He did this to himself. He deserves exactly the treatment he's getting. I'm sorry. Just because he can't read a room, it's not his fault. It's not his training's fault. It's his own decision, his own business choice. It's not his... I said it's not his fault. I meant it's not his character flaw. It is his fault, 100%. Budweiser USA, your CEO is doing a dismal job on CBS Morning. Brendan trying to take both sides in his decisions. Answer should have been, we make a great product we want everyone to enjoy, and we are inclusive all. Won't tolerate hateful bigotry. Needs a new comms team. Yeah, see, he's being panned on both sides of the aisle, and I think it's hilarious. Psycho Clown says, let's knock 100% off for them. I think that if they try this again with Dylan Mulvaney, they'll bring themselves down. Wow. I don't know how far down they can go. I'm excited. Honestly, I'm excited. I'm glad that he's saying that he's not ruling out working with this trans influencer in the future. I am stoked to see what happens. I'm really optimistic for Bud Light and AB InBev going forward because I think that they really found a good thing that's working great for them. I couldn't imagine a better marketing campaign than what they've got going on here. Happy to see that going on for sure. Yeah, so here's the old school one. Budweiser releases new patriotic ad after Bud Light Mulvaney campaign. They've tried a couple things now. They're giving away like $10,000 and I don't even think $10,000 like to a bunch of different people. So I'm really curious what happens with that. That's still in Mulvaney. Goodness gracious. Whew, creepy. I'm so creeped out by that person. I really am. It's just, I also feel bad for them because I feel like people who are transgender are incredibly confused. But the activists, man, they are truly toxic. Truly, truly toxic. Crazy to me. All right, so here's the main focus of this evening's conversation. I want to talk about Joe Biden. I'm not really a presidential commentator, but there's a lot going on with the Biden family. If you guys have been keeping up with any of that stuff with Hunter Biden and all that other jazz. Let's look at this one. Even cheat sheets couldn't save Biden from a gaffe. Duh. President, 80. I just have to stop and say, I've worked with a lot of old people in my career. I spent 10 years working with old people in hospitals, nursing homes, and rehab centers. I've worked with a lot of 80-year-olds who are sharp, like sharp, literally as sharp as my 55, 60-ish-year-old parents at this point. Joe Biden, I would never have guessed as 80. I would have guessed like 85 or 90. I'm serious about that. He's unstable. He's confused. He loses his temper in a way that is very consistent with dementia. I don't know if you guys saw that story from today, but he was asked about his son's business dealings and he just yelled no. That's such a red flag to me. I'm so unsettled by this, but I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to show you some of the polling in swing states. Fascinating stuff. Trump is not destroying Biden like we would expect, but we'll get to that shortly. President Joe Biden referred to the war in Iraq Wednesday when talking about Russian President Vladimir Putin and the conflict in Ukraine. Biden was departing the White House en route to Chicago. He was holding a cheat sheet on the day's news topics with the Wagner uprising listed at the top. President Biden departed the White House Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. The president said that Putin had absolutely been weakened, but added it's hard to tell, really, when asked to what extent. He's clearly losing the war in Iraq. He's losing the war at home and has become a bit of a pariah around the world, Biden said, clearly meaning to say Ukraine. The president, 80, appreciate the mention of his age, was heading to Chicago to deliver an address on what his White House is calling Bidenomics when he made the gaffe. Yeah, so selling Bidenomics is going really well too. So here we have Daily News Summary 6/28/23. Wagner, Russia. This was an internal Russian matter. Too soon to know. Joseph R. Biden Jr. Okay, so this is his clip. Then we have, I'm really kind of surprised he didn't read this part out loud, the part that says Joseph R. Biden Jr. I will say too, look at his hands. These are the hands of someone who has paper thin skin, who is on the verge of actual physical collapse. And I'm disturbed by this. This makes me feel really, really uncomfortable because it's one thing to feel like your country is run by your enemies. It's another thing to feel like your country is run by someone you can't see, by people who are unnamed, unseen, pulling the strings of people who actually are your enemies. So it is a little bit discomfortable. Andy says, Lydia once stabbed a man to death with an octogenarian. They are that sharp. Indeed, they are. Thank you, dear. Some of them are. Some of them are not. Joe Biden is one that is definitely not. A reporter pointed out that the White House's economics team had been using the term in recent days. Now wait, let's get it straight. The first time it was used within the Wall Street Journal, okay, and I didn't go around beating my chest, Bidenomics, so the press started calling it Bidenomics, he said. Despite his tone when answering the question, Biden said he liked the term. I like it, it's fine, he said, noting that it refers to, quote, my policies. I hate the Bidenomics thing. It is not going to fly with people. I feel like anybody who's been shopping over the course of the last few days, guys, I paid $5 for a jar of mayonnaise at Walmart, and this wasn't even the good mayonnaise. This wasn't Hellman's. This wasn't whatever else they have. I always forget the other brand of mayonnaise. This was Kraft mayonnaise, the worst possible kind of mayonnaise. $5 for a jar. Holy cow. And this was at Walmart. I literally go to Walmart because it is the cheapest possible place to shop, and I'm incredibly grateful for Walmart, and also for the fact that their Pride celebration is literally just an end cap with colorful stuff on it. And when I was on their site the other day, I think I mentioned this, they told me that I should celebrate Jurassic June. So no mention of Pride Month on their app, and encouraging people to enjoy dinosaurs instead of gay people, which I was like, it's actually a breath of fresh air. I love it. So happy for it. But we have more about Biden, so let's get into it. Woo. Biden, now 80, is now using a breathing machine to treat a sleep disorder after thick mask lines on his face sparked more health questions. President Joe Biden has started using a CPAP machine. The machine treats sleep apnea. Biden's sleep apnea has been public knowledge since 2008. Okay, so this isn't really new news. But yeah, this is unsettling because look, if your face doesn't bounce back after a night spent with a sleep mask on, you are very dehydrated and very old. And you probably shouldn't be the president of the United States of America, honestly. But I personally don't find this that unsettling because, like I said, like they say, we've known about it since 2008. It's just so uncomfortable to have someone this old at the helm of our country. Now, I personally have put on a lot of sleep masks. They do great stuff. You can literally watch people's oxygen drop on a screen if you don't have their mask on. In fact, I made a lot of calls from the telemetry room to nurses and night aides to tell them that the patient's oxygen was dropping quickly. Please make sure that their CPAP mask is on, because if you have apnea, it affects your ability to get oxygen while you're sleeping, which can obviously lead to brain damage. So hopefully that hasn't been one of the things that's affected Biden in the past. But oh, the president started using the CPAP in recent weeks. Interesting. So this is a somewhat new development. Huh. At the time, doctors believed that Biden's irregular heartbeat, known as atrial fibrillation, was likely linked to his sleep apnea. That's correct. This was a big factor on my cardiac unit, AFib, which is where your atria are just fibrillating instead of working in conjunction with your ventricles. It's been a long time since I talked about this stuff. But yes, AFib can cause or influence sleep apnea. In subsequent health reports, the sleep apnea became a footnote. Yeah, because he has other health issues. In December 2019, a medical report released publicly while Biden was running for president, his now White House physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, said the obstructive sleep apnea had been considered, but Biden's condition had improved after he had sinus and nasal passage surgeries. The president started using the CPAP in recent weeks. Oh my goodness. We are sending our president out to meet the world full of vicious foreign adversaries with a face with literal marks on it that are showing his weakness even while he's sleeping. And I just find that so symbolic of exactly what the Biden administration is. And I don't know, man. I don't know. A CPAP machine blows air into the back of the throat to relieve a condition called obstructive sleep apnea, where muscles in the throat relax and block the airways. This briefly stops sufferers from being able to breathe and wakes them up. They may also snore extremely loudly. Over time, the repeated interruptions to oxygen supply and disruption to sleep can have life-threatening consequences, pushing up levels of stress hormones in the body. Yeah, that's right. Sleep apnea is no joke. It is no joke at all. If you guys aren't familiar with this, definitely check it out before it affects you or your parents, because it can be a really big issue. If you have a parent who's super, super tired during the day, a parent who's, if you're listening to them sleep and it sounds like their breathing is stopping and then suddenly starts again with like a loud snort or start, you should probably have them screened for sleep apnea. And you can go do sleep studies, and they can do a lot of studies to make sure that this isn't a factor for you. But I just was kind of horrified by that because this is extremely disturbing. Biden is incredibly frail, and I feel like the Democrats know that, but they're not going to allow him to be impeached because Kamala Harris has just notched the lowest net approval rating of any vice president in NBC News polling history. I'm not surprised, are you? And I have nothing against Kamala Harris personally, although I do think she's a terrible politician. She seems more hapless than evil, and I think that she was kind of thrust into the spotlight when she didn't really fully expect it. Although admittedly, she was running for president, right? At the end of the day, I feel like anyone who's running for president deserves all of the slings and arrows they get. They have to know what they're getting into when they jump in. The latest NBC News poll offered some flashing warning signs for President Biden and his Vice President Kamala Harris, as Harris's net negative rating dropped to the lowest number ever recorded in the poll. She notched a 32% approval rating among 1,000 registered voters, in the poll taken from June 16th to 20th. Poll carries a 3.1% margin of error. Of those polled, 49% say they have a negative view of Harris, including a whopping 39% who say they have a very negative view of her. Wow. Jeez. In October 2019, then Vice President Mike Pence had a 34% positive, 38% negative rating. Wow. In December 2010, Biden's rating was 34% positive, 33% negative. Dick Cheney was at 47% positive, 24% negative. And in March 95, Al Gore's rating was 42% positive, 27% negative. She is on more drugs than Biden, says Andy. I think you're right, and I'm not sure what she's on, but it is quite the cocktail because she is quite the amusing person to listen to. I can't stand listening to her. It's like cringe by, association. I have such a hard time hearing the words coming out of her mouth because they make me kind of angry. So I'm going to show you a case of two things being true at once here. So here's the first article. Biden approval rating highest since August, says Gallup. Well, it's great news. He's doing pretty well. President Biden's approval rating has climbed to its highest point in nearly a year, according to new Gallup polling, as he ramps up his campaign for another 4 years in the White House. Oh my gosh. He'll be 85 years old by the time he leaves office. We need to get him out of office. We need to run a candidate who can win in a general election. It's the highest rating since last August, but still below the approval in the upper 50s recorded at the start of his time in the White House. 54% of U.S. adults overall disapprove of Biden's job performance. So this is true. It's at the highest it's been since August. And also, President touts Bidenomics, though new poll shows just 34% approve of his handling of the economy. So while his overall approval rating is as high as it was in August, so few people approve of his handling of the economy. The percentage of people who approve of his handling of the economy is comparable to the percentage of people who approve of Kamala Harris. And that is very bad news. This is part of the reason I don't think Bidenomics is going to go over well with the general population. There's just no way to look at your checking account and your savings account and say, you know what, actually things are fine. We're going to keep going this way. I don't see it. I don't see him selling it correctly, but I guess we'll see what happens. This is really interesting. So you know how our candidate in the GOP, when I say our candidate, I refer to the GOP because in my lifetime, the GOP has been the slightly more conservative party in question. And I have no other choice. We only have two parties. There's no one else I can turn to in this difficult time of only two parties. But the GOP does not have a candidate that can destroy Biden, and that should scare people witless. Spitless, as my parents used to say. We all know what the actual word is. Let me adjust that a little bit. Yeah, so this is bad news. Really, really bad news. And I would ask you guys to absorb this information with an open mind because this is something that we actually need to consider going into the election in 2024. Biden and Trump are tied in crucial battleground states and potential 2024 presidential election rematch, according to a poll. President Biden and former President Trump are in a virtual dead heat in a key general election battleground state in a potential 2024 rematch, according to a new poll. This is referring to Pennsylvania. Trump stands at 47% support and Biden at 46% among registered voters in Pennsylvania, according to a Quinnipiac University poll released Wednesday. The survey indicates Trump winning the support of Republicans 89% to 7% and Biden with overwhelming 94% to 4% backing from Democrats. Among independent voters, the former president holds a 51% to 37% advantage. And I want to make the comparison here between... Ooh! I don't know if you guys heard that. Dip definitely perked up. There was a very loud clap of thunder. I saw the lightning and I was curious if we would hear anything. It was pretty close, apparently. It made me jump. Goodness gracious. Thankfully, we still have power. Babe, I can hear it. This survey indicates Trump winning. Right. This we know. Biden, a Pennsylvania native who spent his early childhood in Scranton, edged Trump by just over 1% in the Keystone State in the 2020 election. Pennsylvania was one of 6 swing states where Biden narrowly defeated Trump to win the White House. So, this is an actual swing state. This is actual polling showing that our nominee, who I assume will be our nominee, this person is not destroying Joe Biden. And I have to be honest, if you can't utterly smash Joe Biden in polls and in real life, do you really deserve the nomination? I'm having a really, really hard time squaring that circle. Because we need and we deserve a nominee who destroys Biden sitting down. Joe Biden spent the majority of the election season, of the whole campaign season in 2020, sitting in his basement and hiding and letting Trump do things to his disadvantage. And it worked, including in this state of Pennsylvania, that is a swing state. He won by like 1%, did it say? Yep, Biden narrowly defeated Trump to win the White House, one of 6 swing states. The president remains underwater with Pennsylvania voters, according to the survey. Voters give President Biden a negative 39 to 57% job approval rating, with 4% not offering an opinion. Yeah, so the people who would be voting for Biden would be voting on the basis of he's a Democrat, we want a Democrat, we're Democrats, we're going for it. I just want a nominee in 2024 who can win. And much right now as I don't care for what Donald Trump's doing and what his influencers have been doing, they've not been honest. They've been kind of lying about things left, right, and center and getting a lot of community notes. Still would be better than Joe Biden, obviously. I don't think he can win. I think that if Trump goes up against Biden again, it's going to be a repeat of 2020. Joe Biden needs Donald Trump. There was an article, I forget who it's from. Biden is seeking Trump. Let me see if I can find that article. Biden is desperately seeking Trump. Will the GOP again give Democrats the nominee they covet? People were laughing at this. They were calling me crazy. They were saying, haha, that's nonsense. Biden hates Trump. Biden does not hate Trump. Biden knows that he would not have won if it weren't for Donald Trump. And I think that's entirely correct. I think that's a fair analysis. And I wish the Republican Party were wise to it, because swing states like independents require a little more coaxing than just, oh, look, a Republican. Oh, look, a Democrat. They're not partisan. Okay. So I was thinking about this the other day and I was like, why do I keep trying to consider myself a Republican? I don't like what the party's doing. I don't like that they're considering running Trump again against Biden, to whom he lost against in 2020. Whatever you think about the election 2020, At the end of the day, I mean, look at this poll. This poll is basically exactly how it was in 2020 in Pennsylvania, okay? And I know people get mad at me anytime I talk about this. I really don't care. I do not consider myself a Republican at this point, and I just despair of them altogether. And I know a lot of Trump supporters are like, oh, the GOP is full of rhinos, but this is the party that's going to be nominating your man. So are they rhinos, or are they actually the best because they're nominating your man and trying to get him back into office again? Kind of got to make up your mind and decide whether they're evil or not. But I don't know. This poll out of Pennsylvania looks exactly like the election in 2020 did. And I am concerned that if we try to run Trump again, he is not going to win. That's it. That's it. And I think that instead of being attacked for holding that view, Trump supporters should actually stop and think, oh, what if that's true? You know, because I consider myself a spokesperson for independent voters because I'm not in any one campaign. Sure, DeSantis is great, but at the end of the day, like I said, all I want is a nominee who can win in 2024. That is the most important thing. I don't think Trump can do that. It's that simple. Don't hate Trump, whatever. Would like to see a Republican win, but geez, at this rate, I'm not seeing it, which makes it kind of depressing. However, NBC poll shows that DeSantis is leading Biden by 6 points in swing states, but Trump is trailing by 2. So not only is Trump not destroying Biden in these swing states, he is trailing him by 2 points, whereas DeSantis is pretty much crushing him. But, you know, Trump supporters will never, I've been told, vote for DeSantis. I've literally seen Trump supporters on Twitter say, I will vote for Biden before I vote for DeSantis. So you tell me whether they're in a cult or not. Absolute insanity. But, you know, they only want what's best for the country. They're not rhinos at all. So let's look at this because I live in Florida and I'm very interested with what's going on here. I saw a list of 200 new laws that are being rolled out on July 1st, and these are some of them. New Florida school rules: only parents can change their child's name. Adult live performances on field trips are restricted. Good. And TikTok is banned on school grounds. Now, what do you guys think about TikTok being banned on school grounds? Is that a positive thing or a negative thing? Is the government overstepping its role here? Is this out of the way it's supposed to be? What do you guys feel about TikTok, and how do you feel about the states kind of restricting that? Also, too, to keep in mind is that these are at public state schools. These are at Florida schools. So I kind of have this principle that if you're going to work within the boundaries of the state, you're going to play by their rules. And to me, this just seems fair. But let's read on. Florida's Education Department unveiled Tuesday new rules stemming from controversial laws meant to embolden parental rights in education. One rule bans drag field trips. Good. I can't believe that needs to be done. You guys, can you believe that they need to ban drag field trips? Another bans TikTok from school devices and Wi-Fi. Okay, so it's not even from school grounds necessarily. It's from actual school devices. A third rule proposed requires parental consent for children to change their name. Good. That's great. I think that's fantastic and perfect and exactly as it should be. And again, at the end of the day, I can't believe this stuff needs to be in a rule. Can you? Like, unbelievable to me. I was always a pretty cynical conservative when I was growing up, and my parents were constantly talking about how this is all slippery slope and everything, but I never for a minute thought we would get to this point. But here we are. Isn't it exciting? The Florida governor, along with Florida agencies, want to give parents more power over their children's education as well as restrict any activities deemed age inappropriate. That doesn't sound insane. Proposals from Florida's Department of Education, including a ban on districts using social media app TikTok, comes after DeSantis already received a slew of attacks related to his parental bill of rights, called by critics the Don't Say Gay law. Thank you, Daily Mail, for not referring to this rule as the Don't Say Gay bill. DeSantis' ongoing war with Walt Disney stemmed from this controversial law. The presidential hopeful this week filed a motion asking the federal judge to throw out a lawsuit from Disney accusing him of violating its contract with the state over the former Reedy Creek Improvement District. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens with that, because Disney is not doing very well. In fact, based on what I just saw recently, $900 million Disney just lost. Yeah. Woke Disney loses $900 million in recent box office flops as liberal agenda being pushed in movies like Lightyear and The Little Mermaid turn off moviegoers. That's right. Normal people don't like this stuff. And that's not like it's becoming more and more obvious as we go along that people just don't like it. Normal people, everyday people you see at the grocery store, they don't like this stuff. Disney no longer licenses content like the Marvel Cinematic Universe to third-party platforms like Netflix and Amazon, and therefore has forfeited billions of dollars in potential revenue. Ooh, that was an interesting choice. The once envied entertainment company is now struggling to find a profit on almost every single film released. Oh, wow. Disney's bloated budgets for these projects are vastly higher than the competition on average, particularly considering the fact that every single film Disney releases comes with blockbuster production price tags, the YouTuber explained. Which YouTuber is that one? Let's see here. Why do we have to go up 3 pictures to see this person's name? Okay, so this is Valiant Renegade, who is this YouTuber. Interesting and good commentary, I think. That's a really interesting slew of problems for Disney, and I'm curious if they will ever start. I feel like they're pulling a Bud Light, because I feel like they're really just doubling down on all this stuff because they think it's what they have to do to get those sweet ESG points. It's not. They don't have to do this, but they insist. They've convinced themselves that this is the right thing to do. So they are increasingly trying to push it, and I don't think it's going to work for them, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what they get against DeSantis. DeSantis and Disney started last year after the company, in the face of significant pressure, publicly opposed legislation concerning a bill that critics called the Don't Say Gay bill. Disney CEO at the time, Bob Chapek, spoke against the bill, saying that it could be used to unfairly target gay, lesbian, non-binary, transgender kids and families. He was later fired. And I will say here right now and here on YouTube, and I don't care if they demonetize this, there is no such thing as a transgender child. Only parents who want to fit in and who want attention and positive feedback from their peers. Again, there is no such thing as a transgender child, only warped, twisted parents. So, found that super, super interesting, but all of this to say, I would really like to see a GOP victory in 2024. And given the way that Biden has just crushed this country over the past couple years, and trust me, it's only going to get worse because he's talking about his economics plan, which we know is absolute horsepucky. I think that we deserve a win. We just need to choose a candidate who can do that for us. And I don't have a particularly emotional attachment to any single candidate, but I am concerned that we won't be able to accomplish it. And I'm worried that we're just going to keep living in the banana public where we're living in right now for the next however many years until Biden is out of office. Or if it's not Biden, it's going to be Gavin Newsom, because we all know he's running that shadow campaign for president behind the scenes. All right, let's read about this banana republic here. David Marcus says, what do Donald Trump, Subway Marine, Daniel Penny, and Hunter Biden all have in common? They're damning proof America's justice system has been corrupted by political bias. I fear we are now no better than a banana republic. Yes. 3 very different indictments, but on one damning conclusion, America's blatantly politicized justice system is broken. Daniel Penny, Hunter Biden, Donald Trump. Isn't it amazing? Trump is heard declaring on a bombshell audio recording leaked to CNN on Monday of a now infamous 2021 meeting at the center of the case against the former president over the mishandling of classified information. These are the papers, Trump says as he reportedly flaunts secret military plans detailing an attack on Iran. Yes, isn't it amazing? It's astonishing, in fact, that explosive details of perhaps one of the most important and unprecedented legal cases in America's history against our most hated Republican president keep leaking out as if from a broken water main. Indeed, the audio came out just weeks after CNN first published the transcript of that meeting. And yet the Department of Justice appears to be completely unperturbed that its evidence is being splashed across our televisions and Twitter even before it's presented in the courtroom. That's right, because they want these things to be tried in the court of public opinion because they don't actually care about justice for people like Donald Trump. The wrong kinds of people, the mainstream media and the Department of Justice have decided, do not deserve justice. They deserve to be tried out in the open without a trial of their peers. There's no need for a jury. There's no need for a judge. Just public opinion, especially when it comes to Donald Trump, who actually needs public opinion in order to win a general election in 2024. After all, a judge has yet to decide if this tape will now even be admissible at a trial. Good luck selecting a jury that hasn't been tainted by biased media coverage. At the same time, however, much to do with the potential crimes of a son of our sitting Democrat president is guarded more jealously than the gold at Fort Knox. In fact, only a few days ago, and after a 5-year federal investigation, Hunter received what appeared to be the sweetest of sweetheart deals from the DOJ, whereby he will plead guilty to minor tax and gun crimes on the proviso that he likely won't serve jail time. That's right. At the end of last week, Attorney General Merrick Garland and Hunter were seen hobnobbing with the rich and powerful at the White House state dinner for the Indian Prime Minister, though we should hardly be surprised. For such is the state of our justice system, those quotation marks are mine, which seems to have stopped even trying to keep up with the pretense of political impartiality. Step forward, ultra-liberal Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, one of the countless Democrat operators backed by billionaire financier George Soros, and the prime example of the systemic bias. Bragg quite literally campaigned on the promise to indict Trump, and his own case against the former president for paying hush money to Stormy Daniels is widely mocked for its legal inadequacy, even by the former president's most avid opponents. Oh, good Lord, don't show us this picture from Hunter Biden's laptop. That's disgusting. Ew. At the same time, however, much to do with the potential crimes of the son of our sitting Democrat president is guarded more jealously than the gold at Fort Knox. Yeah, for sure. Including crimes like this. This is 100% a prostitute. He is 100% doing drugs in this picture, and he is choosing to photo document. Bragg is also responsible for the aggressive indictment of ex-Marine Daniel Penny. Penny pleaded not guilty on Wednesday to charges of second-degree manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide for what many would argue was simply an honest attempt to protect his fellow citizens on a New York subway from a violent, drug-addicted homeless man, Jordan Neely. Indeed, Neely, who had racked up 42 criminal charges, reportedly yelled and threatened fellow passengers, saying he, quote, didn't care about going to jail. But because Neely was black and Penny is white, the left was quick to forget those important facts and instead brand the incident as a racist lynching. Victories for the woke brigade, no doubt, but all the while, Bragg does little to deal with the very real and rampant crime plaguing his city streets. In another laughable moment on Monday, conservative activist Scott Lobato was issued a summons by 2 police officers after he protested crushing new regulations which could see New York pizzerias forced to scrap wood and coal-fired ovens. His offense? Tossing pizza slices over the gates of City Hall. You know who doesn't attract such police attention? Criminals brazenly selling drugs on street corners or those who expose their naked bodies in front of kids at pride parades. Yeah. Yep. I think David Marcus truly has a point here. Yeah, so here's Daniel Penny, and here are his 2 assistants, one of whom is Hispanic and the other of whom is African American. I would just like to take a screenshot of these hands here. This is David Neely's arm and hand, and these are his restrainers' arms and hands. And their skin tone is exactly the same. This has nothing to do with race, and Daniel Penny was not even alone in restraining this violent criminal. It's the same story in the big blue cities across the country. Look at San Francisco and Chicago, with once beacons of prosperity now gone to the dogs. This is the America we now live in. On Tuesday night, Trump sounded off on social media as only he does, with unbridled outrage, wild hyperbole, and a kernel of truth. I would like more than a kernel of truth from our nominee, if that's possible. Thank you. The deranged special prosecutor, Jack Smith, working in conjunction with the DOJ and FBI, illegally leaked and spun a tape and transcript of me, which is actually an exoneration rather than what they would have you believe, he wrote. There's little evidence to support these, but they do speak to an interesting point. Remember that in 2017, fired FBI Director James Comey leaked memos of his sensitive conversations with then-President Trump. By his own admission, Comey gave classified information to his friend in the hopes that it would be passed to the media and prompt a special counsel investigation of the president. That's right, James Comey is a horrible human being. In 2019, the DOJ Inspector General concluded that Comey set a dangerous example for over 35,000 current FBI employees and the many thousands more former FBI employees who similarly had access to or knowledge of non-public information. In the end, he was admonished but never charged, and a dangerous precedent was indeed set. Free and fair justice for all used to be the founding American principle that now lies in tatters with our legal system no longer trusted by honest, hardworking people. And can you blame them? Both those on the left and the right of the political spectrum have done so much damage. Indeed, the dismal dereliction of duty from Democrat DAs like Bragg is a blatant and deplorable, but the mud-throwing by Trump and his acolytes against any or all judges and prosecutors who fail to do his precise bidding doesn't help either. I think that's a very fair analysis. Our legal system needs nothing short of a complete overhaul, a return to basics where we're all treated equally under the law, where the powerful aren't let off lightly, where cases aren't cherry-picked by biased prosecutors, and where obvious crimes don't go unpunished. Otherwise, we are no better than the tin pot dictatorships and banana republics that we love to deplore on the world stage. And where else to start than the DOJ itself? Really, it's anyone's guess as to who is behind these latest leaks, but Garland should hold a news conference today and announce an investigation into the release of the Trump Mar-a-Lago tape. Excellent piece from David Marcus at the Daily Mail. He is 100% correct. It is incredibly depressing to watch this kind of stuff pan out because it feels like nothing's going to change. It feels like we need to turn the country off and turn it on again because it's gotten way out of hand. And I don't really know of a better way to do that than actually starting from scratch. But I also don't know how to do that. So if you guys have any recommendations, let me know because it is discouraging for sure. And I think that I'm going to have to wrap it here. I'm sure that everybody is mad at me in the comments because I saw the chat pick up when I was talking about Donald Trump. But again, I'm just exhausted by it. I don't really care. You can yell at me and tell me that I have to vote for Trump if you want to. Fine, tell me whatever you like. You can insult me just like these Trump influencers do all day, every day. Just because I don't think that he can win the election, and that troubles me immensely. And I'm not even out there on the front lines arguing for DeSantis, even though I do prefer DeSantis to Trump. I'm just saying, guys, we have a problem here. I don't think this is going to fix the problem. I think this is just going to give us a repeat of 2020 because Trump really is a turnout machine, both for and against him. But I don't know. Let's see here. Andy says, I don't remember. Oh, let's see. Talking to somebody in the chat. Awesome. DeSantis lost me when he started taking advice from Jeb Busch and Paul Ryan. Bad news. Trump hired somebody who worked right beside Jeb Busch, and he also endorsed Paul Ryan. So I don't care about any of these arguments. I don't care about calling DeSantis a rhino. I don't care what you call Ron DeSantis. I look at what he does. He's doing amazing things for Florida. I'm delighted to live here. I really don't like the argument that he's somehow a rhino because he actually has won every single election he's ever run for. He won his office on 3 different accounts. I think he won, I can't remember the years, but he won every time he ran for his position in whatever, the Senate, Congress, and then he won for governor, and he won again in 2022 by a wide margin. He won by a landslide. This state loves Governor DeSantis, like outright. Like counties that had never voted Republican were going Republican just for DeSantis. And I have to say, that's pretty admirable. I don't know. I'm just tired of it. Tired of the dialogue about Trump being fantastic and DeSantis being evil. DeSantis is not evil. And if you're going to call out Jeb Busch and Paul Ryan, you need to examine Trump's endorsement of people like whatever her name is who leads the RNC. And you need to discuss his medal giving to Anthony Fauci just days before he left office in 2021. Right up to the end, Trump was on Fauci's side. He was giving Fauci free rein to do whatever he wanted. He is still out there on the front line saying how grateful he is for that vaccine. And if you are also grateful for the vaccine, then I will encourage you to vote for Trump again for sure. The Taliban has Black Hawk helicopters now. Good job, Joe. You did it. Yes. Biden should be out of office just for that. I want him to be defeated so badly I can taste it. It is so frustrating watching this pan out. It's going to force me into meditation, and I'm so glad that we're having a child to take my mind all of this stuff and off all this stuff and have me focus on keeping that little thing alive for the first few months of their life. It's going to be good. It's going to be fine. I just want this country to be in a better state than it is now for my children. And I know that a lot of the people I'm arguing with on Twitter do not have any children and are not in a position to consider this and have never considered parenthood and likely never will, or at least nowhere in the near future. Like, they're not even dating people. They're mostly like young people without any vested interest in the future at this point. And I just have to say that affects how you treat politics. If you are in a position where you have kids, where you have people who are depending on you, you need to think seriously about what's happening and what it's going to mean for the future. Okay, you can't just say, all right, I'm going to vote for this guy because I like him. He causes trouble. He's going to burn it all to the ground. That's not enough, okay? And I'm not tribal enough. That's why I don't consider myself a Republican anymore. This is why I consider myself an independent, because I'm not just going to go along, and I'm not just going to vote for someone just because someone else tells me to and because all my friends are doing it. I actually had somebody tell me that I needed to vote for Trump because everyone at Timcast appeared to be on that wavelength. And I was like, you're telling me that it's not a cult by telling me that all my old friends are doing it. That sounds like peer pressure or a cult. And I can't do it. I want actually what's best for this country. I don't care to be part of a cult. I want serious answers. I want actual conservative policies, and I don't really care who does it as long as we win in 2024. But I digress. Anyway, you guys, today was a little bit depressing. I apologize. Talking about the Bidens always is, but with any luck, we win in 2024, and we don't have to worry about the Biden administration ever again, or Kamala Harris. I never want to hear her ever again. Every time I listen to her, I just die of cringe. But if we let somebody like Gavin Newsom into the office after Biden, oh my gosh, I don't even know what we'll do with that situation, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it if it comes to that. Hopefully it does not, but thank you guys for joining me. I will say stay strong, be well, and stay out of Target because we are still boycotting Target. Somebody told me the other day that Target has really good deals on like strollers and car seats, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm definitely not ever going to buy anything from them ever again, so I will keep looking for other options. I don't really care if it costs a little bit more money. It's okay. It's worth it to me to not ever give them money ever again. So thank you guys so much for hearing me out. I appreciate it. Keep your eyes open. Don't be tribal. Don't be closed-minded. Try to help push candidates that can win in 2024, and don't be blinded to the options because we do have a lot of good options coming from the right. We'll see who we end up nominating for the election, and then we'll see if we win. So I will see all of you guys tomorrow. Until then, bye guys. How's it going?